Right, I'm going to run through the Muppet activity as quick as I can, so you can come back to this and see what we did. So I'm creating a folder because it's a brand new website. Go into that folder. Always start with this procedure. I want an images folder, and I want a index.html. Easiest to start with a new text document because I know that would be just blank. So index.html, no content. And I want a style sheet. Style sheet.css. So I need to open these files. I'm going to open this one with Notepad. Stick that over that side. I'm going to open this one with Dreamweaver, which is a bit slower to open than Notepad. Tum-ti-tum. Love Adobe products, also lightning fast to load. You'll get there. There we go. I'll have that over that side. So I've got my basic structure, and the other thing I'm just going to quickly do here is put some files, these image files, into my images folder. I'm sure I just did paste. I did. There you go. So there we go. That's pretty quick to get that structure set up. So let's quickly slam through the basic tags that we need for a web page. HTML, a head, we'll put a title in there, the Muppet Show, and close off that head tag, and we're going to need a body, close off that body tag, and we finally need to close off the HTML because we're done with the HTML. That didn't take long, did it? So the head does need to have a link to the style sheet, which I can finally do off the top of my head, having done it so many times, hopefully without making too many mistakes. Rel means related, apparently. Now, just always worth checking that you've linked up the style sheet correctly, haven't done any misspellings. I choose to do that by always just changing the background colour. And let's do a bit of, that's a nice colour. Save that, and then let's just have a look at that in the browser. Blue means it's working. Right, now I can now start working on my page. I'm going to do a bunch of divs. Firstly, a div for the main page that everything's going to go into. Puts a margin on the edge of the pages. Looks nice. So div ID equals wrapper, and then within that I'm going to have a div for my header bit, and let's put some text in there. I think Muppet homage would be good, and then a bit of copy and paste because I'm going to need a bunch more. Can't remember if that's enough or not. So I now need to have a sidebar, which is going to go on the left, and that's going to have some links in it. So link 1, link 2, just placeholders for now. I can put some actual links in later. Link 3, and I'm also going to want a sidebar on the right. But before I do that, remember we can float left and we can float right, but we can't float center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to float the sidebar on the left for the links, and on the right of that float another wrapper which will contain the main content and the sidebar for the right, and they can just float left right within that wrapper. Hope that makes sense. So I'm going to do that right here. So this is going to be wrapper content, I think. It's as good a name as any. Always good to spell it correctly, because then there's a faint chance you'll have it lined up correctly. So no content inside there. Also, I'm not going to have that /div yet. That's going to go after the rest of it. So I've got my wrapper content, then I'm going to have my main content, and that will be main Muppet content, and my sidebar right, and that's all I'm going to need, isn't it? So I actually didn't need that last one there, but I do need the /div to close off the div from the wrapper content here. So let's save that, quickly flick back to the page, see how it looks. It shouldn't be dramatically different because I haven't put much in there. Everything is just on top of each other. There's no boxes that we can see because I haven't changed colours or anything like that. Anyway, let's go back to the styling at this point. So what do I need to style? I need to style the wrapper. We'll also have the HTML open so you can see what we're styling as we go along. So the wrapper, I'll give that a background colour of white, and I'm going to give it a width. I'm going to make it 80% of the page, and I'm going to give it a margin which will be automatic. Save that. Now the header, I think that doesn't need much apart from a colour. Nice greeny kind of colour. Lovely. Let's come back if I've forgotten anything on that one. That was the header. Sidebar left, the hash because it's an ID. That's going to have a background colour, I think it's kind of grey, I specified, and I'm also going to make it only 15% of the box that it's in, and I'm going to make it float on the left of our page. Then I'm going to have my wrapper content, and that doesn't actually need a colour. All it needs to do is have a width of, if the other one's 15%, this one needs to be 85%, so we'll get it to 100% altogether, and I'm going to make it float right. Then I need the main content to give that a background colour of a light shade of green, maybe that one. Lovely. And that's going to have a width, I'm going to say 80% of the box that it's in, and I'm going to make that float on the left of the box that it's in, the wrapper content. And then finally, for my divs in terms of location, I need a sidebar right, and that's going to be background colour, that nice grey that we had from before. Sidebar left has CCC, that's CCC, that's all good. and I'm going to make that float on the right of the container that it's in, and I forgot to say width. Now because I made the last one 20%, this 80%, this one has to be 20% in order to work out correctly. So let's have a look at how that looks. That's about right actually. In terms of the layout, I've got everything in the right page. As soon as I start putting content in, I will have all of those will fill out properly. I chose the same colour for the header and the content, which isn't a good idea. If I just go in quickly to specify a few heights, wouldn't necessarily do this, but it will help us see what's going on. Height, make that 500 pixels, and do the same for sidebar left. Height 500 pixels. I'm going to change the color of the header so it's not exactly the same color as the other one, so make it a bit more red, green, sorry. And let's just see what effect that's had. F5, so you can see made the bars a lot bigger, and I can finally, I think I'll just change the main content to have a height as well. Height, make that 600 pixels just to see the difference. Control S, Alt Tab, F5, and that's our page. Put images, put text, put whatever you want to in there.